Hey scholars, so we have a pretty jam-packed lesson today, so take a deep breath and get ready because we're going to learn a lot. All right, jumping right in, go ahead and pause this slide and annotate your DBQ. The question is going to say, how did social structure change after the fall of the Roman Empire? So go ahead and jot down these notes and we'll get started with our lesson. All right, so let's briefly review what we learned last lesson. If you recall, Rome was split into two distinct empires, the Western Empire and the Eastern Empire. This was done by Emperor Diocletian when he created a form of government called the Tetrarchy. Again, the Tetrarchy is where rule is split between four rulers instead of just one. Each empire has an Augustus, or primary emperor, and then a Caesar, who's kind of like the junior emperor. Because of this split, we see that Rome has lost territory, and we know because of the fall of Rome that they've also seen a lot of their major cities be destroyed. So we need to figure out what's happening to the people of Rome. And if the emperor can't protect them from the barbarians, who will? Today we'll see the rise of a new social structure in Rome, and it's one that you'll recognize, but maybe not by the same name. At this point, if you haven't already filled in the top 3 tiers of your social hierarchy on your worksheet, please go ahead and do so. And you also have a few questions on the left-hand side of your paper that you need to answer based off of the information provided in your social hierarchy. So go ahead and pause this presentation now if you've yet to complete those questions. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into document A. This is a very different kind of document for us because it's a graph. I know this isn't math, and you know how I feel about math, so we're not going to go there. But we definitely want to look at this data because it's very important to what we're going to be talking about. So this is a graph of the population of the city of Rome itself from 0 CE to 600 CE. According to this graph of the Roman population, as the Roman Empire is falling, the population of Rome is declining or getting smaller. By around 600 CE, there are only about 30,000 people, which would mean less patricians and men capable of leading in the empire. At this point, go ahead and feel free to look through questions 1 through 5 and answer those. You can pause the show if you need to. All right, looking at question 6, it asks if the Roman people were not living in the city of Rome, where were they? So I want you to use your critical thinking skills and try to figure out if all of these major cities have been destroyed, where do you think the people are living? Remember what we've learned about agriculture. Where might people want to set up shop and set up their new lives? You can go ahead and pause the slideshow and answer question 6. All right, moving on to document B. This is a map of the Mediterranean region in 476 CE. This looks very, very different from what we've seen, even with the split of the Western and the Eastern empires. Each kingdom that we're seeing is ruled by a different monarch or king. So if you remember, monarchy should be a less complex form of political organization compared to our empire. So I want you to think of all of the different conflicts that we've talked about, and why do we think that the form of government has reverted to something a little bit older rather than moving forward. So before you write your central idea, I want you to really take a hard look at the Western Empire. Again, if you're not super familiar with your geography skills, the Western Empire is going to be the side that's to the left of your map. You're going to see a lot more colors there and a lot of different splits. So I want you to take a close look at that and try to figure out what you think happened. All right, take this time, pause the video, and write your central idea for document B. All right, let's take a look at document C. This is where we're going to get into a lot of the really different information that's really going to be very new to us. So make sure you pay very special attention to documents C and D. Let's take a look. This is an application from a peasant to a lord around 600 CE. After the Frankish invasion of the Roman Empire, a type of personal relationship called commendation emerged. Emerged just means started. Commendation was a personal relationship between a wealthy lord and a peasant, or poor person. The relationship was commendation, but the larger system was known as the feudal system. Europe was no longer ruled by empires. Instead, the continent had been divided into small feudal relationships where wealthy lords led small communities. As central authority weakened in the later centuries, this relationship became more commonplace as more men needed protection. So all of that's in your attribution of document C, and I know that's a lot of information. We're seeing a big shift in our context because we're moving from our classical era into the medieval period. So we're in a completely different era of time. And the main form of government that we see in the medieval period, especially in Europe, is feudalism. So if you need to read over the definition again in the attribution, feel free to pause the video. If not, let's take a look at the text. To that magnificent lord, since it is well known to all how little I have to feed and to clothe myself, I have therefore asked for your goodwill that I should hand myself over to your guardianship, so you can aid and protect me, with food and with clothing, as long as I shall be able to serve you and deserve it. And so long as I shall live, I ought to provide service and honor to you, and I shall not, during the time of my life, have the right to withdraw from your control or guardianship, but must remain during the days of my life, or until I die, under your power or defense. So I want you to think about what this gentleman is saying, right? We see a very different relationship that's forming between this peasant and this lord, right? Try to think about what you know about our pre-existing social hierarchy in Rome. Who do you think might be the lord, and who do you think might be the peasant, if we're thinking of this old hierarchy? So go ahead and read over the text again if needed. Jot down what you think your central idea is, and you can pause the video at this time. If you look at the little cartoon at the bottom of your page, you'll see that this lord on the left is like, hey, what do you want, peasant? And the peasant saying, Lord, if you give me protection and food and clothing, I'll give you honor and I'll give you praise and I'll give you basically anything that you need, and I'll serve you because I need these things from you. All right, taking a look at document D. This is a diagram of the feudal system. So again, looking at our new form of government is called feudalism. Right, this is the system that's developed from an earlier Roman system in which freed slaves would continue to work for their masters. The system took hold with freedmen after the fall of the Western Roman Empire in around 476 CE. So take some time, look over this chart, all right? Make sure you pay close attention to the direction of the arrows and what is being given to whom, all right? What's being given are on the boxes to the outside, and the column in the middle where it says kings, nobles, knights, and serfs, those are the different groups of people in this new social hierarchy that are participating. So go ahead and pause the video and jot down your central idea. All right, so I want you to go back to your DBQ. All right, it is how did social structure change after the fall of the Roman Empire? We've seen a pretty big change. I want you to look for 3 ways. The first one has been provided to you, and it is that Western Empire broke into monarchies, and there's less centralized control. Document B is going to be your main source for that. So go ahead and pause the video, find 2 other ways that the social structure has changed after the fall of the Roman Empire. And don't forget, when you're making your assertion, you always want to restate your DBQ. This is not a central idea. It does not start with the phrase according to. All right, your exit ticket has 2 parts. The first part is going to be to write a central idea for document X that helps answer the question, how did social structure change in Rome after the fall of the Roman Empire? The second step, you're going to use document D to complete the new social hierarchy by filling in all of the blank boxes. Make sure you use your criteria for success, and if you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me during my office hours between 12 and 3. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on feudalism and the shift from empire to monarchy in the early medieval era.